Steve would awaken in the Royal Infirmary around 3 to 4 days after the battle against the King and Pope Balmus. He still would need time to recover from using the Rage Shield blood sacrifice that took just as much out of him as it did in defeating his opponent. Of course, it was only thanks to the aid and strength he had received from Fatoria that allowed him to use the power without suffering too many consequences, although the drawback was still major. As Steve awoke, he would be once again reacquainted with the Queen, Queen Melria Q. Melremark. Of course, Steve had met plenty of women in his time, all of them with beauty in their own right, but seeing the Queen up close, without being on the verge of death, well, it caused the shield hero to become rather flustered, something that few in the room were able to pick up on, but he kept himself composed well enough. The Queen would offer her kindest regards, as she had been the one tending to his wounds, personally making sure that he would survive the ordeal. Steve was grateful to the Queen, although much to even her surprise, he didn't seem all too bothered or concerned about his own safety. He was more worried about the others, worried about the likes of Raftalia and Philo and Ake and Melty and everyone else that had worked with him for so long. To the Queen, it was a level of compassion that truly moved her, in spite of everything he had gone through, in spite of all of his hardships and ordeals. The fact that he still had the first presence of mind to worry about the likes of others ahead of himself, it was only a testament to his character, as to the man he truly was. The Queen would apologize on behalf of Melremark, and on behalf of her wayward husband and her eldest daughter. Although much to her surprise, Steve wasn't really all that focused on that. He was more concerned about the safety of his comrades and friends. The Queen getting a chance firsthand to see the compassion and the empathy of the shield hero. It was beyond moving. It was heartwarming to see that a man who had been wronged in so many ways, and yet he wasn't worried about his own self-preservation or his own name and image. He was more concerned about his friends. It was something that touched even the Queen's heart. Of course, she still planned to compensate them for all of their troubles, and before leaving, she wished for them to stay so that she could clear their names properly. The next day, Steve would meet with the other heroes, although he could tell that there was something different about them. They still carried their weapons, but the gemstones were no longer inside of them. They looked different. And even more so, Ren, Itsuki, and Motoyasu felt different. They weren't their jovial selves. They felt as though they had lost something vital. In the meantime, everyone gathered to the throne room, with what was happening being broadcast all over the kingdom. It was the trial of King Ulcre Melremark, as well as Malty, Princess Mine. The trial was to clear the name of the shield hero, that which the Queen intended to do. Slave crests were placed on the both of them so that they could not lie their way out of the situation. The king remained silent while Princess Mine tried her best and failed horribly. Every crime she committed, every lie she told, exposed for the world to see. While this was vindication for Steve, it felt entirely uncomfortable to another extent. To watch someone flounder around aimlessly, trying desperately to preserve their image. But the funny thing about a lie, it always has a way of catching up to you in the end. The real surprise was from the king. The king who neither bothered nor tried to defend himself. He didn't bother to make an excuse. He didn't bother to petition on his own behalf. If anything, there was a strange look of relief on his face, as if he finally could stop playing this game of charades, pretending to be something that he wasn't. It got even to the queen, to the point where she questioned him. She asked if he had any remorse, any guilt for the trouble he had caused all of the kingdoms. He had summoned the heroes when he wasn't supposed to. His actions against the shield hero were deplorable enough, and even more so that he colluded with the Three Heroes Church, using a forbidden weapon, attacking the other cardinal heroes. Those were just a small list of his crimes. And yet still, the king showed no remorse. In fact, he looked relieved. There's no point in pretending now, is there, my dear? Do not speak so casually in my presence, Lord Alcray. I am simply a lord now. I wonder, how long have you wished for this moment? The moment when I would no longer be king. In spite of everything that you've done, all the trouble you've caused, I've overlooked many of your faults. But this I cannot. How long will you continue to sow in your own vendetta and vengeance? Vengeance wrongfully placed. Shouldn't I also seek vengeance upon you for what you've done to me? You cry about your father, do you? He would be appalled, to say the least, seeing what's become of his once great country, all at the hands of his daughter. Tell me, do you think he'd be proud of... Before he could continue, multiple ice shards formed around his neck, the queen warning him to keep silent if he spoke ill of her father. When my kingdom was brought to ruin, desolate, where was my aid in my time of need? All of the other nations did nothing but watch as the shield hero led his forces into my country and took everything from me. You were the one that provoked the shield hero. Your actions against Siltveld did that. And why must my family pay the price? You embellish the truth. You know what really happened. You live in your own delusions. Delusions that I humored for far too long. Oh, so now they are mere delusions. I tried. There was a time when I wished to see you dead for what you did. I chose to forgive. I chose to look the other way. When I laid eyes upon you, I saw a man that was lost in the darkness. I saw a man that was being consumed by vengeance and hate, but yet you still had the compassion and the will to love. I hoped that I could give you that. I thought that I could be what you needed most. You simply wished to make me your charity, to ease your own conscience, your own guilt. You do not even believe the words you say. You fight for a country that has long since been forsaken. No one is left. And yet you've gained so much. You gained the throne. You gained a kingdom, a family. They are not my family. I am sorry, Melty. But you should know the truth. The two girls seeing their family break down before their eyes, the queen desperately trying to keep him silent, but it did no good. He revealed that he was not truly their father. The girls were simply too young to remember when times were different. And he simply stepped in. He used his magic to cloud their visions, so that all they saw was him. He tried to play the role of a father. He grew to love those girls, as if they were his own. But now he realized, trying to play house, to be the good and loving husband, he was merely forsaking who he once was, the man he used to be. Steve, of all people, tried to implore for the king to seek peace. In spite of everything he had done to him, Steve did not wish for him to lose his life. Not like this. "It's obvious that they still love you," Steve said. "Are you really going to turn all of that away for a vendetta against a man that no longer exists? I am not the shield hero of the past. I don't want to fight you. I don't want to bring you harm. I simply want to help save this world. Is that not enough?" "It may very well be. You're not the shield hero of the past, but you bear his shield all the same. And as such, I will never work with the likes of you. You bear the devil's shield. A shield that will bring this country, this world to ruin, just as it did my own home. And I will not let it happen again. So either you kill me, or I will kill you. You will be doing no such thing, T.R.O.T.S.H. For I now will sentence you." The king was sentenced to death. Of course, much to the dismay of those who knew him. Even still, Steve did not wish for him to die. But T.R.O.T.S.H. had no intentions on doing so. When the guards came to take him, a ring of fire formed around him like a barrier that could not be penetrated, not even by the queen's ice magic. It was a reverse summoning spell. It would take him somewhere far from here. The king looked to the queen one final time. "I free you from our marriage, and I free you from your burdens, Your Highness. It doesn't have to be this way. You can still turn back now. Were you not the one who was going to execute me? What happened? A change of heart? That is the difference between you and I. You are far too kind and weak. The vengeance you wish to seek will get you nowhere. For what you've done, you will become an enemy of every nation in the world. You can't fight them all. I will do what I must. It's obvious to me. It is clear as day that you are all fools to put your trust in these heroes. I will be the one to save the world from the waves of catastrophe. And I will do so with my own strength. This is your last chance, T.R.O.T.S.H. If you go down this road, you know there's no coming back. I spared your life once. I will not make the same mistake. So I'm nothing but a mistake to you. Very well. That's the one thing we can both agree on. All of this was a mistake. One giant mistake that I will rectify. The next time we see each other, it will not be as lovers, but as enemies. I will restore my throne. I will bring my nation back. And I will do away with the shield hero. He looked to Steve one final time. You will die at my hands. That I promise you. In one flash, the former king of Melremark would disappear. The queen would send her soldiers to search for him at once, as he had now made himself a wanted fugitive in all of Melremark. Of course, the trial was now complete. For mine, she would be stripped of her royal privileges. While she may be a princess in name, that was all she would have to it. She would be no different than anyone else. No access to the royal funds, nothing. The only reason why she even kept her title was due to the trying circumstances. But for mine, she felt as though she had been broken entirely, as she looked to the shield hero with anger. Her family, everything she once knew, all of it taken away, and it was all his fault. A few days later, a banquet would be held in celebration for the shield hero. However, Steve wasn't attending currently as he had other matters to deal with. He, the queen, and the other 3 cardinal heroes were all in a private room. The matter was of the status of the other cardinal heroes, who, while they still had their weapons, the gemstones that once lied inside of them had not been returned. They all questioned why this was the case, the queen doing her best to quell their concerns as she had to explain to them a rather unsettling truth. Digging through old archives embedded in all of the lands, each kingdom bringing forth whatever information they could, this is what they learned. In the beginning, there were no cardinal heroes or cardinal weapons. All weapons were vassal weapons. However, it was when the 4 stones were found that the shield, the bow, the sword, and the spear were transformed into the cardinal weapons. And as such, that was how the cardinal heroes were born. However, what they had come to learn was that in the event that a cardinal weapon lost its cardinal stone, it could not just have it placed back inside once again. You could say that the weapon was put on a temporary suspension, if you will. In a short way of explaining, the stones would have to go to another vassal weapon, and that weapon would become the new cardinal weapon. And it would stay that way until the stone was taken out of that weapon, and then any vassal weapon would become eligible once more to have the stone. Of course, Motoyasu and the others, they saw this as a good thing. All they had to do was find some other vassal weapons and they could just become cardinal heroes of new weapons, maybe even better than the ones they had. But it wasn't that simple. You see, it wasn't just their weapons that were suspended. It was them. The queen would have to be frank. When they lost the gemstones in their weapons, they lost the right to be cardinal heroes. And they would never get that chance again. To say that the news was shocking would be an understatement. They couldn't believe it. They lost their right to be cardinal heroes. They had been bumped down to the status of vassal hero, whatever that meant. It meant that all of the perks, all of the privileges, everything they received for being cardinal heroes was no longer going to apply to them. In a roundabout way of speaking, they were no different than a support hero, if even that. They couldn't accept it. They couldn't believe it, especially Motoyasu. There was no way. No way. He couldn't be stripped. What? This didn't make any sense. All that work, everything they'd done, it was for nothing? Unfortunately enough, that was how things stood. In order to make peace for the actions caused by the former king, the other nations, the ones that held vassal weapons of their own, would each be given a gemstone, and they would be allowed to summon a hero as they were meant to. Of course, this left a lot to wonder. What were these other vassal weapons? Who would the new heroes be who would stand alongside the shield hero? And would they be strong enough to help? The next wave was going to come. And as of right now, Steve Rogers was the last cardinal hero, the only hero strong enough to save them from the waves of calamity. This concludes The Rising of the Shield Hero, the Man Out of Time. What if Captain America was the Shield Hero? Season 1, Part 8. As always, if you enjoyed today's video and everything else that we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that has to come out now and in the future. Stay tuned tomorrow morning as we'll be continuing with What If Captain America Was the Shield Hero, Season 1, Part 9. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. Signing off, and I'll see you next time.